Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to day 2 of the Teaching for Success 2024 conference. I hope you all had an enjoyable and restful evening and are now ready to immerse yourselves in yet another day filled with insights and inspiration. Throughout today's sessions, you can expect to continue getting expert insights and information to spark your curiosity, which will hopefully be followed by meaningful conversation and discussion during and beyond this event. Let's not forget about the importance of networking. During breaks, take the opportunity to connect with fellow attendees, exchange ideas, and find a common ground for potential collaboration. We're now going to start the day with the first plenary session planned for today, which very much reflects on one of the hottest topics nowadays in all spheres, artificial intelligence challenges and opportunities. Ladies and gentlemen, it is my pleasure to introduce our esteemed guest speaker, ELT expert Nick Peachy, who will give us his insight and valuable perspective on the topic. Nick Peachy is an accomplished educator, author, and learning technology consultant renowned for his expertise in integrating technology into education. With over 30 years of experience in the field, Nick has become a prominent figure in the realm of digital learning and teacher professional development. Having taught in various educational settings across the globe, Nick possesses a deep understanding of challenges and opportunities faced by teachers and learners in the digital age. His passion for exploring innovative approaches to enhance teaching and learning has driven him to share his knowledge through numerous publications, workshops, and presentations. Nick's work has been recognized internationally, and he has received several prestigious awards for his contributions to the field of education, including 2 British Council Innovation Awards. He continues to inspire and support educators by sharing his expertise, exploring emerging trends in education technology, and advocating for the transformative power of technology in teaching and learning. Please welcome Nick.
Thank you very much. Good morning. Thank you very much to the British Council as well for inviting me here. It's nice to be among real people in the physical world. I spend most of my time sort of buried in a computer and in my basement office, so it's nice to get out every now and again and meet real people and real teachers again. Also, thanks for the technical guys this morning who we've shared a nightmare together and come through it, and you can now see my presentation, and I'm back with my beloved laptop and I can touch it again. It was over there for a while, and I had severe separation anxiety and was, very traumatized by that. I'm still recovering from the trauma, I think. But okay. So this session is on artificial intelligence in the language classroom. I will be sharing a link and a QR code for you to grab the whole of the presentation at the end. So if you don't like making notes, don't make notes. If you like making notes, go ahead and make notes, but you can still have the presentation at the end. So it will have a number of prompts in it that you can use yourself with your students to practice the use of AI. And there will be some bits of homework in it as well, some videos to watch and reflect on. So if you don't like homework, then don't get the link at the end and don't download the slides. Okay. Okay, so just a bit about myself. I won't go into this too much. There's a picture of me just to prove that's me. Oh, different glasses, but the same face. So there's my Innovations Awards that I won. I was shortlisted 6 times and I've won twice, so that's good for my ego. There's a book that I wrote on ChatGPT in the language classroom, and a link to a course that I've done on AI tools. So hopefully those build in some credibility for me. I actually started teaching 30 years ago, teaching English. Before that I was a music teacher, and my first teaching job was actually teaching the guitar in a prison. I wasn't a prisoner, I just went to the prison each week to help prisoners play blues guitar, and that's how I got hooked on teaching. Um, I started teaching in Cairo. I did a CELTA course there, and I've taught in many places around the world since then. Okay. I'll start off with a question, and that's, how have you used AI in your teaching? If you scan the code here, the QR code with your phone, you'll see a little questionnaire, and you can input there, and then we'll be able to see what people have been doing. It doesn't matter if you haven't used it at all. Still scan it and say, I haven't used it. It's just good for me to know what the experience in the room is. Hopefully that's clear enough for you to scan. Okay, if you've scanned it and input your answers, we should be able to see these. You won't be named in any of these, but we should get some idea of what people are doing. There's a few yeses, electronic whiteboards, mostly asking it to clarify ambiguous grammatical linguistic points. Okay, great. Helping creating test questions, rough outlines. Great, good. And most people have said something around yes, so that's quite good too. Hopefully there'll still be something in this for you. Okay, chatbots are being kind of, I'm reluctant to use the word hyped, but they're being talked about as something very new. In fact, they're not that new. They've been around for 60 years. There's a video here that you can watch later. This will be your homework on the history of AI chatbots. And the first one was actually developed in 1966, and it was called Elisa. And Elisa was designed as a counselor for people so that they could talk about their problems and interact with someone about their problems. And the developer thought that this would enable people to have access to therapy that they maybe couldn't afford. And it was done through a chatbot. You can watch the video later, that's your homework, and you can trace the 60 years of AI development. My first interaction with chatbots was actually in 2001, 2002 in Morocco. I was teaching a group of teenage students who were about 12 or 13 years old. They had a very good level of English, but they were very reluctant to speak to each other, and it was very difficult to get them to develop their fluency. At the time, I went to a chat room to see if I could put my teenage students into a chat room. Seems very irresponsible nowadays, but I went and had a look at a few chat rooms to see if my students could use them. And what I found was, not only was it not very safe, but the quality of conversations that you could have with real people was actually very poor. Most of the conversations I had were, hey dude, what's up, where are you a man or a woman, how old are you? And beyond that, there wasn't much conversation happening, you know. At the time, there was this film had been released by Steven Spielberg called AI, and it's a remake of the Pinocchio story. Only it's a futuristic version of Pinocchio, where Pinocchio is an android, and he wants his mother to love him. He's been adopted by a family, and he wants his mother to love him. And it looks at a lot of the ethical issues around AI that we're facing now. It's a really interesting story, so watch it if you have the chance. But for me, the good thing about it was that they had a website promoting it. And on the website, there was a field that you could type in questions, and you could interview the boy from the film. So instead of going to a chat room, I got my students to go to the website, and they started asking questions, and the chatbot would answer them. And they really enjoyed this because they found that they could ask anything. It didn't matter how personal it was. The chatbot would respond to them. So they were able to ask questions about, do you feel love? You know, how does love feel to you? And things that the average teenager aren't going to ask a real person, but because it was a chatbot, they couldn't see who they were asking, they really enjoyed it. They were very impressed for quite a while, and then they soon realized that it had a very short attention span. It was like talking to a goldfish. You could ask a question, but if you wanted to ask a follow-up question, it had forgotten what you said. It couldn't trace the conversation. So you could only ask questions and get answers. You couldn't go any deeper than that. But these are some of the things that they liked about it. It would answer any question. It didn't get tired or bored or impatient with them like some teachers do sometimes. It had no ego or self-consciousness about how it answered, but it had this short attention span. And that's something that's changed dramatically with generative AI. Now you can talk to it like it's a normal person and have really extended conversations with it. It can remember a conversation of up to about 4,000 words, which is probably more than most men can do, or so my wife tells me. So, you know, you can have these kind of really long conversations with it and reference things back, and it understands. So it can also start to instigate response and ask you questions, which is really interesting. It can be programmed, and it can be used to power apps as well. So there are some quite impressive things about it. If you want to find out more about how generative AI works, I've put a little video in here. This is your second homework. And in the video, there's a woman explaining it to you.
Machine learning is a field of study that involves creating algorithms and statistical models that allow computer systems to automatically improve their performance.
She's actually not a real woman, though. She's an image that's been created. It's a real image, but it's been animated using AI, and the voice has been generated using AI. So have a look at that. It was created using a program called HeyGen, and it took me about 3 minutes to create, you know, and it cost me $3 to produce, which, you know, compared to producing real video and real audio 2 years ago, is dramatically less. So have a look. She'll explain machine learning to you, and you can listen and see and watch her and see how realistic you think she is. So let's start by having a look at a few things that teachers can do with AI. The first thing is lesson planning. ChatGPT can plan your lessons for you, or at least give you a start for how to plan your lessons. You can tell it what aims you want, how long the lesson is, tell it about your students, and even the approach that you want. Here in the presentation, I put some what's called prompt templates. They're templates that you can edit and change so that when you put them into ChatGPT, they will produce the lesson plan that you want. So in this one, it's got the time that you need, how long your lesson is. It's got the level of your students. You can tell it about your level of your students, the aim of your students, and you can choose a type of approach. And I've put an example here at the bottom. So this one is for a 60-minute lesson plan for ESL students at level A2 on the Common European Framework of Reference. The aim is to teach them narrative tenses, and I want to use a test-teach-test approach. So if you had to plan that lesson, how long do you think it would take you? How long would it take you to plan that lesson? Have a think about that. While you were thinking about it, I put the prompt into ChatGPT, and we'll see how long ChatGPT takes to write the lesson plan. Could you do it in less than an hour? Less than an hour? More than an hour? Okay, so let's see if you can do it more quickly than ChatGPT. Okay, so we've got it. That was probably what? How long do you think? A second? 2 seconds to write a lesson plan? Okay, and it's got the aims, there's the objective, it's got materials, it's got an introduction, test section, teach section, test again, some conclusions, some homework assignments, and all done within a couple of seconds. It might not be as good a lesson plan as the one that you would write, but you know, particularly if you're starting off as a teacher, it's good to have something to start from. You know, it provides the basis for starting from that. How many of you are involved in teacher training? Anybody involved in teacher training? Yeah. So if you're a trainer and you want to produce lesson plans for trainee teachers to examine, to look at different approaches, you can just get it to produce a whole different range of lesson plans using different approaches. So if I type in to change it to a different approach, it will then produce a parallel lesson plan for me. So I've just told it to change it to a task-based learning approach. And now I've got 2 lesson plans based around the same aims for the same students at the same level, but one using task-based learning approach, one using test, teach, test approach. And I could go on, I could have 5 or 6 different approaches and then give my trainee students those different lesson plans to compare and look for what's different about them, what's similar about them. Or if you're a teacher and you want to try out a new approach, well, you can just type something in and get an example of a lesson plan which shows that new approach. And the prompt is there. So just take the template, the prompt template from here, edit it, and then change it to what you need. Yeah, just copy and paste it into Open ChatGPT. The version of ChatGPT that I'm using is the free one, so it will work in exactly the same way for you. Having the plan is one thing, but we still need to create materials. So, you know, here are some prompts for creating materials. ChatGPT can produce songs or poems based around any topic. You just put the topic in and it will write a song or a poem for you. It can also, you can also specify a lexical set of words if you want it to produce a song or a poem based around some words that your students have been studying. You can put these in and it will design the poem around them. You can also choose the style of the poet if you wish to, and it will produce them, as long as it's a well-known poet, it will produce a poem in the style of that poet. I'm going to demonstrate this quickly. Okay, so I wanted to produce a poem about social media in the style of William Shakespeare. Okay, so for example, my students are studying Shakespeare, they're into social media, so what does the bard think of social media? Okay, I'll press enter. You might think about how long this would take you to produce yourself as well. For me, it would be probably a month, I think. But there's my poem already. Okay. Upon the digital stage, a realm profound, wherever avatars prance and words abound. 'Tis social media, a modern bard's delight, where souls unite, yet oft in silence plight. I won't go on, my Shakespeare isn't that good. But already we've got one poem about social media. For example, if you wanted to have a few different poems around the same different topic for different groups of students to play, if you see this little icon with the pencil, if you click on it and then click Save and Submit again, it will usually, yeah, it will write you a second poem, and you can keep doing that, and it will write you 3, 4, or even 5. And as you can see, they're all different. This is different from the previous one. The little number there, I can just click between them if I want to compare them. And because this is generative AI, each of these is unique. It's not going to Google and Googling somebody who's written a poem about, in the style of William Shakespeare, about social media. It's using its knowledge of his style, its knowledge of things about social media, and generating a unique poem every time. So that's a great way of producing songs or poems for your class. You can tell it what level your students are or what age your students are, and it will do that for you too. Another great example is plays. You know, it's great to get students doing dramatic plays, but getting play scripts that are appropriate level for your students on a subject that they like with the right number of parts can be very difficult. But again, ChatGPT can do it about any topic you want. If you're studying a book, you can put in the name of the book that you want the play to be based on, and you can even, again, choose a type of playwright or a style of playwright. I'm going to do this again. I'm going to get a play about social media now to follow up with my poem in the style of William Shakespeare for 5 students. Okay, here we go. There's our play. Short play about social media for 5 students. It's got the characters. The Tragedy of the Tweeting Hearts, it's called. Benedict, a nobleman addicted to social media. Beatrice, Benedict's witty and sharp-tongued cousin. Claudio, a young nobleman deeply influenced by social media trends. Our hero, Claudia's betrothed, innocent and kind-hearted. And Francis Friar. And there's Benedict. What ho, fair cousin? What news from the feeds? Hast thou seen the latest memes and tweets? Hey, good cousin, my timeline doth overflow with jests and vibes and tales of woe. Marvellous. And so there's my play for my students. And again, you know, if I've got 25 students in my class, I want them in groups of 5. I want each group to have a different play, so that at the end they can perform them to each other. So I just click on the pencil, click on submit, and it produces a second play. At least I hope it does. Yeah, this one's called The Tweeting Tempest. There's Act 1. Got Lady Beatrice. And again, I can click the pencil again, save and submit again. Now I've got 3 different plays. And again, as you see, each one is unique and different. So I can give each play to a group of students. They can practice it. When they're ready, they can perform it. So that's another way we can produce materials. We can get ChatGPT to produce examples of almost any kind of written or spoken materials for us to use in the classroom. They can be based on our students' needs, on topics that they're interested in, and it can also understand degrees of formality and informality. I think it was Michael yesterday who was talking about, you know, our students' exposure to English through social media. They pick up nice little expressions that they associate with kind of native speaker use and try to work them into what they're saying. But often they use them in an inappropriate way or inappropriate times. So getting them to focus on differences between formality and informality can be really useful. So we can get ChatGPT to produce examples. I'm going to produce an example of an email to a bank manager to ask for a loan. I'll do a formal version and an informal version and show you how that goes. Okay, I'm going to ask for $1,000 to buy a car. It's going to be a pretty cheap car, isn't it? But, you know, I'm an English teacher, so I don't have much money. So. Okay, and there I've got my example template. Dear bank manager, I hope this finds you well. I'm writing to formally request a loan. Okay, so lots of examples of formal language. Now I just ask it to change that to an informal style. Okay, so now I've got my informal version. Quick favour needed for sweet ride. Hope you're all doing awesome. So I've got this super exciting thing I need to your help with. I'm eyeing this sweet set of wheels and need a bit of cash to seal the deal. It would be cool if I snagged a $1,000 loan. So, you know, we can print up those two different versions and get students to compare them, look for what the differences are, what are the parallel pieces of language. You could actually ask ChatGPT to mix them up and create a third version that has some formal and some informal, and they could look for what's different between them. So a really quick way of producing materials, a great tool for producing materials very quickly. Almost any kind of text-based or audio materials that you want to create. Another thing that we can use ChatGPT for as teachers is we can use it to mentor us. If we need to develop our knowledge on some aspect, whether it's specifically for teaching or learning, or whether, say, for example, you have to teach a group of engineers and you know nothing about engineering, you can get it to mentor you. And the prompt that I'll show you here is a Socratic mentoring technique. So Socratic mentoring is based around developing your knowledge through asking questions. So it finds out how much you know and then helps to build on your knowledge. This is quite a long prompt, and it's a bit like a computer program. I'll just copy it and then we'll see how it works. So all you need to do once you've got the prompt is put in the topic that you want to learn about and it will start. So I want to learn about inclusion in education. So there's my prompt, I've entered that. Okay, and it starts by asking me questions. So to start with, what do you understand by the term inclusion in education? So I type in my answer. It's not a very good answer, but you know, I'm not very clever, so. Okay, but it's been very reassuring. That's great. a great start. Inclusion indeed focuses on ensuring everyone, regardless of differences, can participate. And so it starts asking me more questions. How could you elaborate on types of differences you think might be considered when promoting inclusion in education? Ooh, now it's getting a bit tricky, isn't it? Okay. I'm going to pretend to be clever and say, neurodiversity. Yeah, smart, huh? A big word I learned. Excellent point. Neurodiversity is indeed a crucial aspect of inclusion. Considering neurodiversity, what specific strategies or accommodations do you think educators can implement? Oh, now I'm stuck. I shouldn't have tried to be clever. So I can tell it and I can say, I'm not sure, please help me. Okay, and it's given me my next essay assignment completed. So it's given me the different things that I could consider. Okay, so if I get stuck, it can help to develop my knowledge. And of course, but at the end, it still ends with another question. Do you find these strategies helpful, or would you like to explore them any further? So I can keep on going like this. And one of the biggest criticisms of AI is that it will kill critical thinking. But as you can see, this way of questioning can develop your critical thinking, can develop your students' critical thinking. So it doesn't have to be that bland process of just asking it for information and then printing it off and never reading it. So, and it could be about anything. It could be developing your knowledge of different aspects of grammar, or it could be teaching different teaching methodologies. And that conversation that I'm having with it is saved, and I can come back to it later and continue with it. So that's, I think, another useful use for teachers. Take a quick couple of minutes break from listening to my voice, turn to the person next to you and ask them which of those three uses they think are most interesting, most useful for them. Okay, just ask the person next to you. What do you think about that? Cool. Couple of minutes. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, could I have your attention, please? I say ladies and gentlemen, but I can't see very many gentlemen. I mean, I'm sure you are a gentleman, but I just can't see very many of them. Okay, let's look at some things that students can do. The first thing that students can do is they can start to talk to it. If they have it installed on their phone, they can just talk to it using their voice. But if they're using it on a computer, there's a free plugin here which they can use and download and install to Google Chrome, which enables them to talk to their computer and to listen to their computer's reply. This is called Voice Master. There are lots of these different free plugins, but this is quite a good one. What it looks like when it's installed is something like this. You'll see along the bottom there's some yellow and blue buttons, and if you click on those, you can choose the language that you speak to it with, and you can choose the language that you hear when you reply. The third one, you can choose the voice that it uses, whether it's a male voice or a female voice or accents as well. You can decide on that which you prefer. You can't really see this very well, but this is a conversation that I had with ChatGPT. I installed the plugin, and then I asked it for feedback on my pronunciation. Once I'd done that, I read it a text. I read it a short text. It's quite an unusual text. It sounds a bit strange, but it's based on a text from the Speech Accent Archive, and it includes all of the sounds of the English language. So I thought I'd use that to test what it could pick up from my pronunciation. And then at the end, it gave me 5 feedback tips on my pronunciation. Apparently my s and z sounds get a bit confused, and I speak too quickly. So it gave me some feedback on my speaking and pronunciation. It doesn't have to be feedback on pronunciation. It could be feedback on grammar, or your students could just talk to it and have a chat. And then at the end, they could get input on vocabulary or structures that they're using and how to do better. But with the prompts that I show you next, keep that in mind, because I'll show you them through text, but they could be done through speaking instead. The first thing that we can do with ChatGPT is that we can program it to become a role play partner for our students so they can practice speaking to it at home. And again, I've got a role play template which you can edit. You define ChatGPT's role, you define the student's role, place and context, and you give it some rules to follow. So you can tell it whether you want it to be polite or impolite, formal, informal. You can tell it about the level of language that you want it to use. So once you've edited that, then you have a prompt that you can put into the computer. There's an example here, and this one is a role play. So ChatGPT is going to be the waiter in a sushi restaurant. It's going to be polite. The student's going to be the customer. It's going to be at B1, and we're going to take it in turns to speak. It's important to tell ChatGPT that you want to take it in turns to speak, or it will do both parts. So we'll see how this works. Okay, so ChatGPT started and says, "Hello, welcome to our sushi restaurant. My name is June. How may I assist you today?" So you're in a restaurant. The first thing you ask for is a table. So I'd like a table for 2, please. ChatGPT replies, "Of course, sir, madam." Oh, I've got a little... Shall I get it to read it aloud and see what happens? Nothing. Okay, "Of course, sir, madam. Would you prefer a table by the window or a more secluded area?" Oh, I want a table by the window. Oh, that was for me to record, sorry. "Certainly, right this way, please. Here's your table by the window. May I get you started with some drinks while you look over the menu?" "No, I don't like this table." "This table's too drafty." "I apologise for the inconvenience. Let me find you another table." "Oh, thanks. Do you want to sit and hold it?" That's asking too much, isn't it? ChatGPT, will you do that? Okay, so we can continue. We can have this interaction, and it's fluent interaction, but it gives the student time to speak before they reply. So they can be speaking, listening, and each student will have a unique and different experience. If you want to check that your students have actually done it and how they've interacted with the computer, you can ask them when they're finished to click on this little button at the top right here, and this will produce a link. So then they can copy the link and paste it and share it with you through an email. You've got proof of that they've done their homework. You can see the text. You can put the text back into ChatGPT and ask it to generate some activities based around it if you want. It could pull out the vocabulary, important vocabulary, or important expressions. It could turn it into a gap fill for them or something like that. So lots of different ways you can use that then to follow up. And that's giving them kind of speaking fluency practice if they're using that plugin. It can also make reading a very interactive experience, and it can put students into the story as they read it. How many of your students have read Harry Potter? Any of them read Harry Potter? Yeah. You know the Harry Potter stories where when Harry joins the college, he's sorted into a different house. They put the sorting hat on, and then it sorts him into a different house. This prompt can drop your students into the story at that point in the story, so they can read through the story and become part of it. So as you can see, this is a big prompt, so it's a bit like a computer program, but I've programmed it using English. Okay, and it produces a part of the story, so my students can read that story. They're reading about Professor McGonagall, they find out what happens, and then they get the sorting hat, and the sorting hat asks them their name, so then they can put in their name, press enter, and it starts developing the story around them. So it asks them some questions to decide which house they should go into. So when faced with a challenge, what quality do you most rely on? Courage, loyalty, wisdom, or ambition? Usually it's technology, but that's not an option. Wisdom. I'll go for wisdom. Okay. Interesting, the sorting hat murmurs thoughtfully. Now, next question. If you could have any magical creature as a pet, which would you choose? Phoenix, owl, cat, snake? What shall I choose? Snake. You want me to be in Slytherin? Snake, okay. Very well. Finally, imagine yourself in a position of power. What would you prioritize? Protecting the innocent, promoting equality and fairness, seeking knowledge and understanding, or achieving greatness and success? Which should I choose? I'm going to choose success. Slithering, yeah. And it says, so I read the next part of the story, and it says, what would you like to do now? So I want to learn some magic. I want to learn some magic. And it would start developing the story around me again. So, I go away, I learn some magic. And at the end, it always says, what would you like to do next? So you can continue the story however you want to. So each student would have a unique experience and would have worked through the story in a unique way. So they could possibly do that at home, then come to class, discuss it together. They can share a link with it so you can see what they've been doing. You can use it to get ChatGPT to generate activities for you. And that one's based around sort of the Hogwarts, the Harry Potter stories, but you could base it around any story. If you're studying literature with them, you can adapt the prompt, and they could have, they could do any story they want. It works best when there's a clear kind of split between good and evil. So if it's a kind of very moral story, I've got another one I did for Star Wars and one for Narnia and things like that. So they work quite well for that kind of thing. I won't show you, oh, I'll show you this one. The next thing that you can do is you can get ChatGPT to become a homework mentor for your students. Usually when we set homework, we give all of our students one set of homework, regardless of what they really need to study, and then we have to mark it. But if we use ChatGPT as a homework tutor, they can choose what they study, or we can tell them what they can study. They can each study something different, and ChatGPT can mark it for them. So again, you can copy this prompt and copy. Give them the prompt, and then you can either tell them what they need to study, or they can decide themselves. So I've asked ChatGPT to become my homework tutor. It says, I'm ready. What would you like to study today? I'm going for business collocations, and it creates some activities for me. Very quickly, it's just done one this time. Okay, I'll provide you with a list of words. I'm going to resend that, because I'm not so sure I like that output. Okay, great. Matching activity. So I match the two parts of the collocations. Fill in the blanks. Then there's a role play activity, a writing activity, and some discussion questions. Okay. So I can do that. I can submit the answers to ChatGPT and it will give me feedback. So then students can work autonomously, developing the aspects of their language that they think they need, and they can get some feedback from ChatGPT. And each student can be studying something different. And again, you know, if they click on the thing at the corner, they can copy the link and share it with you so that you know what homework they're doing. You can check whether ChatGPT has given them good feedback or not. So that's a way of making it a homework tutor. I won't demonstrate this one because I'm running out of time, but you can get it to act as a creative writing prompt for your students. And they design a plot for a story and then take it in turns to write. So ChatGPT will write a paragraph followed by their paragraph. If you're using ChatGPT, you need to be careful about how you prompt it. You know, be sure you give it enough information. If you want to get good output from it, you have to be clear, concise, and articulate about what you want it to produce. And there's some advice on here about making the context clear, state the topic, structure, format, and output. There's an example bad prompt. It says, please read my text and suggest ways I can improve it. That would get you some feedback, but it would be very generic. If you want it to give you feedback on your text, be clear about what the text type is, what the topic is, who you're writing it for, and how you'd like it to help you. And then you will get much better feedback. Another thing that you can do is you can, in the custom instructions, you can specify what kind of output you want and what level of output you want. So you can tell it if you want it to be, all the output to be at B2 level so that it's not too difficult. You can put in the markers for B2 and it will always respond at B2. If you want it to respond to you at PhD level, then you can get it to talk to you like it's a PhD, or you can get it to talk to you like you're a 5-year-old child. But just open this section and put in your instructions there. Challenges. So we've looked at the opportunities. Some of the challenges, one of the first problems that a lot of people say is that, you know, ChatGPT gets things wrong. You know, it's given people bad advice for links or something like that. And ChatGPT isn't very good when it comes to facts. It's much better at giving opinions. I kind of think about it like I had an uncle who would, if you asked him anything, he would always be able to tell you. He would always know, even if he knew nothing about it, he would give you an answer. And ChatGPT's like that. It likes to please you. If you ask it something, it will give you an answer. It might not be correct. Great for opinions, great for creative stuff, not so good for facts and research. But there is a similar tool called Find, which you can use instead, which, I hope there is anyway, which has a similar output to ChatGPT. It gives you a summary, but it also gives you links to where it found things. So if I ask for information about business collocations, as you can see, it gives this kind of summary version like ChatGPT would, but across the other side, it gives you the links to where it found the information. So you can check that it's correct and you can cite sources then. So that's more useful if you're doing research than something like ChatGPT. One of the other big questions that always comes up is about cheating, and how do we stop students cheating? Cheating is nothing new. It wasn't invented by ChatGPT. Interestingly, there's a link to some research here from Stanford. They did some research on how many more students were cheating using ChatGPT than they were before it existed. And they found that there wasn't any difference. Students who are going to cheat. Students who aren't going to cheat, don't cheat. What percentage of students do you think cheat? 120. Under 20. According to the research, between 60 and 70% of students admitted that they had cheated at some point. 60 to 70%. I mean, for me, what this indicates is that we need to sort of change the way we assess people. The tail shouldn't wag the dog. Do you have that expression about the tail wagging the dog? The exam system shouldn't control learning. Learning should come first. If ChatGPT and AI is good for learning, then we should use it. We need to rethink the way we assess. I asked ChatGPT about this, and it produced some 10 tips for how to stop stop students from using ChatGPT from cheating. I put these into another AI program and produced this little video. That's your other homework. You can watch it and get some tips on how to stop ChatGPT from cheating. Not teaching. Cheating. Stop cheating. Don't stop teaching. I think that's right, isn't it? It came up with some very good tips as well. One of the other things that we need to be aware of is, okay, if in the future all of us within our work are going to be using AI tools to be doing much of our writing, how does that change how we approach the teaching of writing? We have to rethink how we teach writing skills if most of it is going to be done with the assistance of AI tools. I don't have an answer for that one. Something to think about. And the last one is, what happens to us as teachers? How's AI going to impact on us as teachers? I wrote an article about this, and I came up with some advantages of teachers and some advantages of AI. If you want to check them out, these are some of the advantages of what's great about AI teachers. They aren't human. They don't get tired, they don't get bored, they don't get confused, they don't have favourites. Lots of people go on about, AI is bias, and the data set that it draws from is as biased as the society that we live in and which produced it. That's true. But in terms of, responding to the individual, regardless of what religion, colour, ability, age you are, if you go to ChatGPT, it will respond to you in the same way. So it's not like a teacher who sometimes has favourite students and sometimes has students that they don't particularly like, you know. ChatGPT treats everyone the same, you know. And I think that's quite good. Doesn't hold grudges, you know, doesn't prejudge you. So there are some advantages of ChatGPT, but there are some advantages of teachers as well. We are human. We can share our experiences with students, and they are real experiences. They're not something that's been generated from a database. You know, we can encourage them. They can't switch us off. We don't have an off button, you know. Even I don't know. I'll switch myself off in a minute, honest. We don't have an off button. You know, we go through the same experiences that they go through, you know, and we can believe in them. And having a person who believes in you can be extremely powerful. You know, I don't think having an AI chatbot that believes in you is that powerful, you know, because you have to believe in it too. You know, I don't know if any of you have had the experience of a teacher in your life who changed your life, you know. If you can think of an example of that. You know I've got a teacher who changed my life dramatically, you know. But could a chatbot do that? Would a chatbot have that same, having that belief in it would have the same thing? I don't know. But I think mainly because of those things, you know, we've still got a future and we're still going to have work. But I'm happy to answer any questions if we have time and if you have any. Otherwise, the QR code is there and you can scan it, you can get the presentation, all of the prompts are in it, all of the links are in it, and all of the videos for your homework are in it. Yeah. I've got some hands up for questions. Shall I go around with the microphone?
Thank you very much. So since I don't have an artificial intellect, I'm just a human being, so I want to, you know, share you with my emotions. Can I? It's like I'm both. It's a mixture of impressed by you, by your presentation, and impressed by the thing that anything can happen through the artificial intellect. Like, I may be marrying another husband, okay. I may be doing anything. I may be changing my life. I may be doing whatever you want. I mean, I may be turned from a live person to immortal. Well, anything can happen. But I'm really depressed. I'll tell you why. Because as you ended up with an excellent, you know, conclusion, doesn't this mean that it's going to substitute the human being? This is a very awful thing, excuse me, for making a revolution, because you did it, made a revolution. I'm going to do that the same, okay? For example, during the COVID time, okay, well, everybody was, you know, having online teaching. That's a crazy thing to do. It's really very good because you get, you know, knowledge with IT, technology, blah, blah, blah. But on behalf of the human being, it's a disaster. For me, it's not absolutely acceptable. Really, what's happening is you can make a Shakespeare in 1 minute, you can write down everything. So why the hell do we live then? It's an absolutely substitution, which is, I don't know, it's not acceptable. You talk about, this is really very good. You know, I've spent like 5-6 years in my life writing down like a PhD or something. Everybody is, you know, making efforts to do this, to do that. Okay, so why do we need that? So isn't it a very, very big danger for the society, for the humankind, everyone? Okay, it's like critical thinking, okay? You know what we're doing actually in the classrooms, not only we. For example, the same TOEFL, okay? I'm teaching them, like all my colleagues, like to think critically like this. Okay, if you have all these chances, why the hell I should work, excuse me? So it stops the absolutely sorry, I'm just really, it's a revolution. It's very nice I came here. I didn't want to, but I mean for the presentation, because I hate the things like this. I'm not a backward woman. I see a lot of methodology in the world, but artificial intellect is really a very, very big danger. You know what's happening nowadays, even in Armenia? You know, all the kids are like, I'm asking a question, say, hurry up, and it says like, huh? Excuse me, with an Armenian prosody, okay? Like, what? Because they're all stuck in this computer things, and it's really bad. It influences the health. Take me. I have spinal problems for 4 months because I was so much in the internet. It's spoiling everything. It's devastating everything. Okay, this is really fine. What I would do, I would, because this artificial intellect vetoes everything in a human being, I will veto it for the children at least, not propaganda or advertising for the schools. This is a dangerous thing. You look at our kids, they're not like the same in every country, like Armenians. What they do is like, they changing. No. I've just a change. Hold on a second. No.
Okay. Let's unpack that, some of that, because lots of things. I mean, let's go back to COVID and teaching online. I was actually teaching online before COVID ever happened. Actually, it was possible for years before COVID actually happened. And lots of people were doing it then and still do it now very successfully. It isn't for everyone, but for some people it works very well. If we think about ChatGPT, for example, replacing the role of a teacher, okay, a teacher might be better, a good teacher might be better, but there are places where there are no teachers. I've been to parts of India where one teacher has 1,500 students to deal with each week. Things like artificial intelligence can really help to supplement that. In terms of kind of creativity, I think, we look at it producing Shakespeare poems, and you might think, well, if ChatGPT can produce a poem by Shakespeare, what do I do with my creativity? What's the point? But really, the point of creativity isn't the output. The point of creativity is the process. You do it because it's part of your soul. I mean, I'm a musician, and even if ChatGPT can play much better than I can, I would still do it because, it's part of expressing myself, and that's something that I need to do, And the learning is the same. Okay, you can get ChatGPT to produce your PhD assignment for you, but if all you're looking for is the piece of paper at the end of the study process, that's fine. But, for me, the process of studying is what I get. It develops me, And I think, that's important, and I think we need to change that focus. I think it was Roosevelt who said that, education is the only product that people are willing to pay for and leave without, and that was way before AI was invented. People are willing to sort of get the piece of paper and not have the education. They just want the FCE certificate, and so we have to focus students on, what the process is and what they get personally from the process. That's difficult. Some of them don't want that, but I don't think that's changed because of AI. I think there's always been the case. Anyway, I'm sorry, I think I'm out of time and I better stop. But if anyone wants to have a chat, or I'm doing another session this afternoon on AI tools, happy to engage about it. Sorry. Thanks very much for your questions.
Thank you, Nick. Thank you for your very interesting and practical presentation. There are a lot of tips and takeaways for me personally as well. I'm definitely going to try out some of them in my own classroom next week. Dear all, we're going to have a 15-minute break now. 15, not 12. Okay, 12 minutes. All right, yeah. So the concurrent sessions will start at 11:15 sharp. Please refer to your booklets for more details on where each of the workshops is going to take place. We will have a lunch break at 1 o'clock. Please return to this hall at 2 p.m. for Nick's afternoon session. Thank you very much. Enjoy your time.